What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Combat and Kick It with your host, Bando. We are back breaking down, going in depth on the title challenger for UFC 311, Arman Tsarukyan. So let's get right into it. Let's go. Now, in these episodes here, I'm breaking down one of the individuals in the main event in each individual episode. So I'm talking about Arman Tsarukyan. I got a video for Islam, so now we're doing for Arman. Arman Tsarukyan is one of the most talented lightweights in the entire world. There's nothing that you can take away from him. There's nothing you can say about it. The man would be on a 10-fight win streak if it wasn't for that decision loss to Mateusz Gamrot, which a lot of people, including myself, believe should have been a win in Tsarukyan's favor. But it was a very good fight, very explosive fight. He has put on some great performances, great finishes, great submissions. But we have to look in depth at what he can do to get past Islam Makhachev. What can he do to gain that lightweight championship? He's a very young guy, so he's got a lot of time, right? So if it doesn't happen now, trust in due time, it will end up happening. But I feel, what can he do? We really got to look at what can he do to get past Islam. So a lot of people bring up their first fight. If you go back to their first fight, I don't remember, 2019 or 2020, maybe right on the border or something like that. But it was a good fight. It was back and forth. It was pretty technical, right? It was definitely a version of Islam that was much better than the version of Arman at the time. I mean, you're talking about an extreme rookie Arman right there coming into a very tough matchup with Islam Makhachev. And I'm pretty sure the fight was even on slight short notice too. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it was on slight short notice. But he went in there and he put on a fantastic performance because he just went in there and did things that a lot of people did not expect somebody who's a rookie, who's fighting on short notice, to be able to do. He went in there, he was defending takedowns, he was getting takedowns, he was working, he was scrambling, he was getting up, he was getting out of position, he was landing shots, he was doing it all. Not enough to get the win, but enough to get people's respect and to show that he is going to be a potential very dominant lightweight. And from that point on, in my opinion, he has not lost. Obviously, he took the legit on the record loss against Mateusz, but in my opinion, he has not lost since. He even put on a great performance against my favorite fighter. He put on a great performance against Charles. He fought Charles smart. A lot of the times he put Charles on the back foot. That is something that a lot of people don't do with Charles. Charles is hard to put on the back foot. He's usually the one leading the dance. He has a high pace, but so does Arman. Arman throws at a high pace. He throws heavy shots looking to KO you, right? He's explosive right out the gate. I wonder if that explosiveness is something that can truly benefit him in a fight against Islam Makhachev, or does he have to be smarter, right? There was moments where he did almost get submitted by Charles, so we bring up those moments. He's got to not make the same mistakes, right? You can't shoot without a setup and expect, something good to happen from it. You're not going to end up in a good position, right? So you got to make sure you're shooting with setups, and he usually does have good setups, good entries. His striking is very good as well. If you pay attention to his striking, his strength in the striking is really not all in the hands, it's in the legs. He has great body kicks, he has great leg kicks, and he's also very what's the word I can say with the kicks? He's unique, I guess. That's not the word I'm looking for, but he's willing to throw different stuff that is stuff that people will only throw in practice, right? He threw that kick against Charles. Obviously, it didn't really do anything, but it's still crazy that you risk throwing that type of kick and you're able to get your leg that high. That man is athletic as can be. In this fight with Islam, he has to be very smart, though. I think the explosiveness wouldn't work in his favor, to be honest with you. It might, but I don't think it will unless he is somehow leading the dance the entire time. I don't see Islam being a guy that Arman could end up finishing in the first round. I don't see Islam being a guy that could even get broken down by Arman. But if Arman does end up landing some shots, right, and getting the respect of Islam, you watch Islam come off of the game plan. And I guarantee it happens. Once Arman starts landing some shots, once Arman starts getting something that does look like it's heavy, it's hurting Islam, Islam's going to abandon the game plan. A lot of people are not expecting me to say that, but I think that's going to happen. He does that a lot of the times, man. He ends up getting in scraps. He ends up getting in scraps if he doesn't get the early finish. Islam needs to go for the early finish. Arman's got to be smart, got to be patient. He knows that first round is the most dangerous round with Islam Makhachev. You're dry. He's going to get you down on the ground. The grappling is going to be there. He's going to tire you out in the first round immediately, right off rip. So you got to be careful. You got to be smart in this fight. I think Arman's fight IQ is fantastic. So I think he is smart enough to understand that he can't just go in there and try to rush Islam. He can't try to rush Islam on a takedown, and he can't go in there and overextend on any shots by rushing in and getting taken down, putting on his back. If you look at some of his fights, he's actually good off his back. If you look at Islam's fights, he's not bad off his back. He's got better jiu-jitsu than most of the Dagestan wrestlers. But still, if Arman is the one on top being able to put the pressure on, he might end up being able to get a finish if he's smart. It's a tough fight. It's a tough fight, and I don't see anybody getting finished. I see this fight being a 5-round fight. We've learned a few things too. Islam's not scared to get in the scrap, and neither is Arman. So this could end up being a much more exciting fight than we expect, right? Obviously, we know it's going to be technical. We know there's going to be wrestling. We know there's going to be back and forth. This isn't going to be one of those like leg humping fights though. Like a lot of people would look at it and see the wrestling, but these guys aren't wrestling to just hold each other down. They're going to be wrestling to get a finish. They both have intention to get finishes. It just happens to be that both of them are so good, so durable, that it's hard for either of them to get a finish. Arman's key to victory, in my opinion. Like I said in this video, Arman has fantastic kicks. So if he can get to Islam early with some good leg kicks, I think that could truly benefit him in this fight. So he's got to work the lower half with many kicks. Because if you pay attention, Islam is very good with kicks himself, good at setting up kicks by going low and coming high. So if you take out one of the better parts of his game on the striking side, and you take away from the base of wrestling too, like that lower half is so needed for Islam. You start damaging that up a little bit in the first round, do it early, I think that's going to benefit Arman. So leg kicks, first key to victory. And the second key to victory, in my opinion, pressure. To me, there's only two keys because everything else is going to be very difficult to be able to do. But pressure is one of the main things. If he can put Islam Makhachev on his back foot and pressure him in any way, force him back, right? Islam's going to try to do that many times. We know that all those Dagestan wrestlers from AKA, they kind of got that same idea of waiting until you back up into that black line and then they shoot because you're close enough to the cage and they can work you off the cage. Arman can't be the one backing up. It just benefits Islam more and more the more he backs up. Arman has to be pushing the pressure. He has to be pushing the pace. He has to control the pace. If he can get control of the pace, it forces Islam out of the game plan, in my opinion. You're going to see him shoot worry shots. You're going to see him do the typical rush in with a small little combination and then shoot. There's going to be moments where you're going to see Islam panic in this fight if Arman gets to him early, is smart, and puts the pressure on. If Arman at all just meets him in the middle and just tries to tap with him and lets Islam get going, it's a wrap. It's a wrap, in my opinion. I think Islam will just control through 5. But I don't see it being that. I see it being a very back and forth fight with the decision going to Islam, but I do see it being a very back and forth, very competitive fight and a fun fight. If you want to compare it to something, go back and watch the Matus fight with Arman. Arman and Matus put on a great performance in terms of technical fighting, right? The back and forth grappling, the scrambles, the wrestling, even the striking, because wrestlers good wrestlers will force each other to become good strikers in that fight and just go back and forth with the striking. So it was a great fight. Very technical, like I said, but if you want to try to make a breakdown or analyze this fight, you can go back and watch that fight. You could even go back and watch the Charles fight if you want to talk about the mistakes he made, right? There are weaknesses in the man's game. It's not like he's perfect or anything like that. He got caught in a couple submissions that are the most dangerous submissions to be in with a guy like Charles Oliveira. And another guy who's very dangerous is Islam Makhachev. So you don't want to get caught up in those same positions. So you got to make sure your entries are set up properly. You got to be patient with the takedown, right? Pressure on the feet. Don't overextend. Pressure on the feet. Just keep them off the back foot. See, people get the wrong impression when I say pressure on the feet. They think that means continuously throw, Max Holloway level volume. No, pressure. Make sure that you are the one leading the dance, forcing him back, right? Not allowing him to put, because as soon as a guy like Islam is able to start putting you back without even doing anything, right? You're automatically already off the back foot. You lost the fight already. So you don't want to make that mistake against a guy like Islam Makhachev. So he wants to be smart with that. You got to be smart with the takedowns, but pressure, patient. It's weird. It's so weird, man, because these guys with the Dagestans, it's so hard to figure out these guys, right? And I think that's what aggravates so many people is like there seems like there's holes in the game. Strikers can't seem to exploit the hole because they're worried about the takedown. But the type of guy who can exploit the holes in the game is Arman Tsarukyan, because Arman's not going to be scared of the takedown because of the work off his back, the skill off his back. He's not going to be worried about the takedown. So it does pose a very interesting threat to Islam Makhachev. He had that good fight against Beneil Dariush. Very quick finish, right? I don't see him being able to do that to Islam, but you never know. But either way, that's it for this episode. Just a quick little analysis of Arman Tsarukyan. I got the Islam episode coming out as well. Both of these guys are extremely talented, and I'm sure my breakdown is going to change as I watch this week through what, the vlogs and everything like that. You guys know how I am with the vlogs. I really focus on the energy through fight week and see how these guys are acting. So we'll see how that is. And then I'm sure I'll have a completely different breakdown. I'll have my full main card breakdown for UFC 311 coming out as well. So I'll give a full official prediction and a full breakdown on this fight a little bit more. I mean, talked about a lot between the two guys, what their strengths are, a little bit of what their weaknesses are. A lot of times when watching these guys, it's hard to find the weaknesses when they don't lose. If they're not losing, what's the weakness? You've seen it with Islam. The last few fights have been a little bit more competitive than he's used to, right? He got in a slugfest with Dustin Poirier, which I don't see him trying to get in a slugfest with Arman. I think it could just happen, right? I think he wanted to kind of show people that he could be a dog too against Dustin Poirier. But against Arman, I think he's going to be much more technical with the striking. I think he is the better striker between him and Arman, right? I just think Arman is better with the pressure, better with the explosiveness. Islam's very good in the middle of the octagon and also good up against the cage. Arman's good off his back. This is just a perfectly technical fight that you can't complain about. Something great's going to happen regardless. You're either going to see the start of another generation, another new run in this lightweight division, or you're going to continue seeing Islam Makhachev defend this title. And my prediction, truthfully, is Islam Makhachev ends up surpassing what Khabib did as a lightweight and getting more title defenses. And I think that's huge. I personally feel that Islam is not, I don't want to say better than Khabib, but more willing to do more than Khabib did, right? I feel like he's willing to try to break records and shit like that. He's out here trying to continuously defend the title, not just get these wins and bounce, you know what I mean? But either way, that's it for this episode. You know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification button so you know when the next episode is out. And I'll catch you on the next episode. I appreciate you guys for watching. Talk to you later. Peace.